Welcome back, Cowboys Nation. We don't have the usual crew today. It's going to be Burke and Stu today. Spanky is on Thanksgiving vacation in the Bahamas, I want to say. Pretty sure.
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Okay. I knew it was somewhere warm and on a beach and
Hmm.
probably having a lot more fun than we had going to work today and being normal people.
Yep.
So shout out to Spanky. Well deserved vacation for the kid. But today we have a little bit of a different podcast, obviously, with the Cowboys going through their yearly gauntlet of what, 3 games in 11 days, I want to
11.
say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and they're already one leg through with it in their victory over the Carolina Panthers this past Sunday. We're recording this one on Tuesday. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Cowboys' victory over the Panthers, and then we're also going to be doing our preview of the Cowboys and Commanders Thanksgiving game. So we're doing a little 2-in-1 special here, just because with Thanksgiving and with travel and everything, it was just going to be a lot to put out 2 episodes, and it probably would have been back-to-back days. We figured we'd just make it easier on everyone, including ourselves especially, just kind of combine it into one. um but just to get things started for here, I don't know what I was about to say there. Just to get things started here, um this was a game that we previewed with our guy RJ Ochoa last Thursday, and it was a game that we weren't very amped up for. But you could say that this is a game that Micah Parsons may have been really amped up for. Um, for those of you who don't know what I'm referencing, he was seen and caught on camera vomiting on the sideline, and I think he might have even thrown up on the field once. Um, he actually talked about it on his The Edge podcast. I was listening to it on my way home from work today. He said that Marquise Bell actually like came up to him before the game and said, "Hey, take this C4, and you'll have 3 sacks today." And he was pretty darn close.
It's
Two and a
close.
half sacks. Arguably should have had a third. Micah also said on his pod that him and Jaron Curse have been arguing a lot the last 2 days over who should get credit for the sack. Jaron thinks he should have the full sack. Micah thinks he should have his third sack, which would set a new career high. Um, but overall, just the game overall against the Panthers, if you were to summarize it, I feel like I would say it's kind of like that meme of that kid in the high school football game where it's like, they had us in the first half. I ain't even gonna
Uh-huh.
lie.
Uh-huh.
And then the Cowboys just kind of woke up, and in the blink of an eye, it was like watching the Golden State Warriors in their prime just go on a
Hmm.
run, and all of a sudden Panthers cut it to a one-score game, and then all of a sudden the game is out of reach, and we're saying, go get Cooper Rush warming up.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a game that we, like you said earlier, weren't very stressed about. We're into that gauntlet, so on the road, 12 o'clock game, which RJ talked about and said that he likes the game being at 12 on the road and to get back early. I agreed with him on that one. But also at the same time, I'm getting the past 2 games, especially just you're gonna blow out these teams and you punt on the first drive. You're like, oh great, you get the ball first, punt, just 3 and out. Like, damn, dude, like really, you're gonna start out like that.
Mhm.
We need to start a little bit faster, but we did what we had to be done. It was 33-3 at one point. Got 33-10, 17-3 at half. Offense looked good against that terrible defense. Dak threw it around great. What we talk about, 9 different players with 2 or more catches. That's huge. Getting more people involved. Tony finally got into more of a pass happy 4 catches in one of the pass game, which is huge. I've been saying that since week 1. Get him in the
Yep.
pass game. It'll open up his run game. That run he had was touchdown run was awesome. I mean,
Awesome.
that was
Yeah. It was
awesome.
awesome.
But we did what had to be done. We killed the bad teams, and now we have another bad team coming up. We'll talk about it in a little bit. I wouldn't say bad, not as good as us. Better than the Panthers, though. So these are
Mhm.
games that are coming up that we should win. But like I said, good win. Defense played fine. Ron Bland, another pick 6, which is just it's getting hilarious at this point.
It's
Um,
ridiculous.
He should break the record. I mean, through 10 games, he has 4, which is
Mm,
just crazy. And now it's getting serious now. I mean, we're 7-3, and we're getting to a gauntlet now. Like you said, 3 games, 11 days, past the first one. Play the Commanders, and after that, we all know what's coming up in those next 3-4 games.
yep.
So we had to do was had to be done. Win, gather, quit, get Dak out of there in the fourth quarter. Tony looked good. Run blocking looked great, which I know you want to talk about a little bit. What Spanky was saying.
Mhm.
So we looked good all around. No complaints.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great way to put it. First of all, we have to talk about Deron Bland. I mean, I've I think I alone have predicted I think at least 2 of his 4 pick sixes this year. It was
Hmm.
actually funny, and I'm gonna sound like the LeBron meme where he's like, "Oh yeah, like when he was talking about Kobe, like yeah, I actually said he was going
Uh,
to have 70." Like
yeah.
but I will say, and you, the viewer or the listener listening to this, you can choose to believe me or not. I was almost very tempted to go bold last week and say that Bland was going to get another pick six, but I decided against it. I decided to go with Marquise Bell, who did have a great game. Almost had that right. But I mean, the argument for Deron Bland to be Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL, it's really not as crazy as you would think. I mean, he is doing some things, and Spanky sent me this tweet or sent us this tweet and wanted me to talk about it. So I will. It's comparing the season that Deron Bland is having to date, which is 10 games, compared to Stephon Gilmore, who was the last defensive back to win Defensive Player of the Year, to his 2019 season, which was awesome when he was on the New England Patriots. So Stephon Gilmore in his 2019 season, he allowed 599 yards, 0 touchdowns, 44.1 QBR against, had 20 deflections, 6 interceptions, and 2 defensive touchdowns. Deron Bland, through 10 games, has allowed 206 yards, just 1 touchdown, a 34.0 QBR against, 12 pass deflections, 6 interceptions, and 4 defensive touchdowns. So there's a very, very legitimate case. We've been pounding the table for weeks saying that Deron Bland, first we said he's a top 10 corner. Then we said he's a top
Hmm.
5 corner. And now I think the media is finally starting to catch on in that what we've been saying, which is that Deron Bland has been playing and arguably is the best cornerback in football. I think there's a case to be made that he is. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, besides him, and I mean, the only reason why you would, I mean, Jalen Ramsey had his history, and now he's playing great. He's
Mhm.
absolutely had 2 picks this past week. I mean, those were really the only two that consistently, just every time they play, they just destroy the guy they're going up against, and they also just get interception after interception. He's played in how many games is it now? He started in 22 games, and he has 11 career interceptions,
Yep.
I believe is the stat.
Yeah.
That's absolutely unheard of. He's a ball hawk, and he is going to end up being. If he, I mean, saying D point now is not crazy. I don't think he'll get it just because of the season Miles Garrett's having as well.
Yep.
But
Agreed.
he will be 100% first team All Pro cornerback without a doubt in anyone's mind at this point. Um, that stat, that QBR stat, 36 through 10 games, is unheard
34.
of.
Yeah.
34, crazy. That's
Yeah.
absolutely insane. Just I don't know why they keep picking on him. I mean, week after week, they just keep going after him. I mean, just keep going after Stephon Gilmore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like we said last week, he's not the cornerback he used to be, but they just keep trying to run Bland. He is a top 2 to 3 corner in the game. I'm trying to think of anybody else besides Ramsey
I mean,
that
you could
is on
argue
his level at
Sauce.
this. Yeah, I just or right now I think who I think is better than Sauce is the corner that we're going to see next week in Seahawks Witherspoon. I
I
like a
was
lot out
just
of
gonna
Illinois.
It's funny that you said that. I was just gonna say Devon Witherspoon has been awesome. He's been
And
sick.
I think he's been better than Sauce has been, especially this year.
Hmm.
I know we could see he's a rookie this year, obviously for Witherspoon. But
Yep.
the way them two been playing, yeah, Sauce, Witherspoon, Jalen Ramsey, but the way that Bland is just locking up these wide receivers, and it's not like he's letting up like the what everyone talks about the stupid Trevon Diggs thing about
The
he lets up a lot
yards.
of yards and he gets picks. Ron Bland doesn't give up yards, and he
Yeah.
gets picks also. So in my opinion, next year is going to be crazy to see. I mean, we should have had it this year. Obviously, the freak injury by Diggs in practice, one on ones. But them two together, and you get Gilmore also. I mean, that's just the best, and our safeties. That's the best defensive back room in the past since probably the Legion of Boom, in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah, and just to throw um, two more stats out there between Deron Bland, comparing him to Gilmore's depoy season. I just saw a tweet comparing him to the last four, no, sorry, yeah, the last five defensive backs who were the only five defensive backs since 2000 to win Defensive Player of the Year, which was Ed Reed, Bob Sanders, Charles Woodson, Troy Polamalu, and Stephon Gilmore. But I'm not going to dive into all of those stats, but just comparing Bland and Gilmore, obviously with them being in the same room now, Stephon Gilmore during his Defensive Player of the Year campaign, obviously, Pro Football Focus grades. You can take them or leave them. You can do whatever you want with that information. It's not like a real stat, but an 82.8 Pro Football Focus defense grade for Stephon Gilmore in 2019, and a 91.1 for Deron Bland so far this season. And also Stephon Gilmore 2019, a 47.8 passer rating allowed. Deron Bland so far this season, a 29.1 passer rating. Just absurd stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
there's just there's just not a ton more to say than Deron Bland. If the season ended right now, it's a two-man race between Deron Bland and um, Miles Garrett, in my
Hmm.
opinion.
Yep.
And it probably goes to Garrett just because he's been. I mean, Miles Garrett is insane.
Yeah.
And that Browns defense is ferocious. I'm very glad that we don't have to face them this year. Like that
Did you
defense
see?
is.
You happen to see the odds for Depoy after this past week?
I have not
Who's
checked it.
favorite? The so plus it's actually plus money for Miles Garrett right now, which I think is crazy. Plus 120. And you know who's second in odds?
Is it Bland?
You had to guess. It is not. He's like I think he's plus 1,200 is Bland.
Is
It's
oh
Micah Parsons is
oh
plus 180.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then TJ
Even
Watt's third.
even Micah on his pod said that Deron Bland should be in the defensive player of the year conversation as well.
Yeah, I think Bland was like fifth or sixth, if I remember correctly. But
Yeah.
yeah, Miles Garrett is still plus money. It's plus 120. And then Micah
Yeah.
is like right behind him at plus 180, which I think is, I mean, I love Micah, but I don't think he should be that close to Garrett, but, I'll take it.
Yeah. No, yeah, we'll certainly take it. And something else that we'll certainly take is we did so the viewers and we didn't tell RJ this. But we had like part of the script for the game last
Mm.
week.
Mhm.
So there's been other games this year where we've had the full script and we've absolutely nailed our predictions. We had bits and pieces of the script. NFL didn't feel like spoiling us this week and giving us all of it, but they did give us some of it. Um, Stu, you had for the first time picking Donovan Wilson this year and having it actually work out. You predicted a Donovan Wilson forced fumble, which did happen. That was awesome.
Mhm.
He had a very solid game. Um, and RJ actually called me bold on Thursday for predicting Luke Schoonmaker touchdown, and
Mhm.
it actually happened. First touchdown of the game. Dak on that seam route, that tight end seam route
Mhm.
is just.
It
I
just
mean,
Dak loves it.
he's unreal. That's
Uh-huh.
his best throw. It's
Yeah, it
unreal.
is.
Um, I mean, it's as automatic as
We have
like
like I think we have 3 and we should have 4 touchdowns this year. I think Maker dropped one in the beginning of the year.
he
We should
did.
have I know we have
Yeah.
for sure have 3 touchdowns
Yep.
that he has those throws, and then obviously Maker dropped one. He should have 4. He just
Yeah.
loves those, and I mean, they
And
seems
they
to work.
work. Yeah, they
Yeah,
work. Yeah, if it ain't broke,
yeah.
don't fix it. And then Spanky also had a correct prediction last week. He said Terrence Steele would have a big bounce back game and allow 0 sacks, which he did. Big shout out to Terrence Steele. He
A lot
looked
better.
great. He looked great on Sunday. There's a clip that's going around in Cowboys Twitter circles of him on um it was the one. It was a very San Francisco-esque play where
Mhm.
they had um, it was a shotgun snap, and Dak just immediately took it, flipped it to his right for Pollard. It was like a little shotgun toss play. Pollard took it around the right side. You had Biotish pulling like 15 yards down the field. Terrence Steele took out two guys with one block, which was awesome to
Mhm.
see. But yeah, a really big bounce back game from Terrence Steele, and so shout out to Spank for nailing that one. He also came close to nailing his Mozzie Smith sack prediction. Mozzie
Mhm.
Smith was very, very close,
Was that on
really,
the
really
first
early in the
possession or
game.
second possession? It was
I
very
think it
early.
was I think it was the first possession, I want to
I think it
say.
was too. It was too.
Um, yeah, but it was really, really close. Ended up forcing a punt anyways. He's continuing to look better each week, which I'm really excited for him.
Mhm.
It's clear that the work that he's putting in is hopefully starting to pay dividends. So shout out to Mozzie for all the fans out there who have been complaining about our draft class output so far this season. I mean, Mozzie's hopefully turning a corner. Schoonmaker, I mean, touchdown. So
Yeah.
hopefully we're starting to get somewhere. And then RJ also had. He was close to his Sam Williams prediction. He said he would have two sacks. Sam Williams finished with one. I think he only played like 15 snaps too, which
He
is
didn't play
which
a
is pretty
lot.
wild.
I
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah. Hopefully he can get um some more reps. But I guess just to I guess our final note on overall thoughts and before we get into our great, good, and mediocre, just kind of finishing up Carolina. Um I think I so personally I still believe in Bryce Young. I think he is the guy for Carolina. It's very obvious watching the Panthers play. One, it's a very, very bad team. I
Mhm.
would give it as close to a 0% chance as possible that Frank Reich doesn't finish the season as their head coach. I think they'll end the season with an interim head coach. And it's it was weird to see because I mean Frank Reich is regarded, in the football world as a very respected coach and, organization member. But that Panthers team, for not having a ton of talent, the after play penalties that they had, the post play penalties,
Mhm.
the unsportsmanlike, the late hits, they're a dirty fucking team. I don't
Mhm.
know how else to say it. Um,
Mhm. I don't
they
disagree.
they play a very undisciplined brand of football, which is surprising from a really bad team because usually when like when you have a bad team, it's like, at least they'll play hard and, they'll show a lot of heart, show a lot of fight. Maybe not literal fight, but fight and, making the game close. But I mean, there was a lot of stuff after the whistle that I didn't appreciate watching. And I also just kind of felt bad for Bryce Young, especially after the Panthers, in which he led a great touchdown drive, fed Adam Thielen a bunch, had 3 fourth down conversions on one drive. The Panthers really never were a threat after that. The Cowboys, like I said earlier, they went on their Golden State Warriors run, put
Mhm.
up, two touchdowns. They went and had a touchdown drive and then had the bland pick six that completely flipped the game in like 3 minutes. Um, so I do feel bad for Bryce Young. Got to get him some O line help. Got to get him some more targets because at the end of the day, shout out to Adam Thielen. What a great story. Teammates voted him captain. All of that stuff, um, but he just can't be your only option on
No.
offense.
Yeah. And like watching him, it's fun. I like watching Adam Thielen. He's just a grinder. He gets open those little 5 yard outs he runs. He finds a way to get open, sinks in that defense. And then also watching Chuba Hubbard. I like Hubbard. Nothing special. I remember watching him in college. We used to watch him all the time at OSU.
Right.
It's a good little running back, but I mean, Miles Sanders hasn't lived up to expectations. They signed him. It looks terrible. I mean, you traded away your first round draft pick this year to get Bryce Young. He has no help on the line. I'll get back. I'll get to the great part and save that for just a second. But as a team, they're just terrible. They have Xavier Woods. He had a face mask and a horse collar on like a 3rd and 17.
On the
That was
same
so
play.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
on the yeah, exactly. Crazy. They're just not a well-rounded football team. And Reich, yeah, I think he's done too. I mean, Tepper, they're everyone's talking about him as their owner. He's not a good owner. He just fires everybody. He apparently
Yeah.
owns some other soccer team, and he fires everybody every single year. About to be on his third coach the past like 3 years. Yeah, it's not a good look over there in Carolina, and they have that's first round pick this year. They have no future.
Yeah. Yeah, the future um definitely looks bleak for them.
Hmm.
But, hopefully at least you can try to get pieces, whether it's through free agency or through trades.
Yeah,
Honestly, a guy that I think would really help the Carolina Panthers is for them to get a stud receiver like DJ Moore or something. It would
I've
be.
been hearing T Higgins for them. Oh,
I could
TJ
I
Warren.
could say,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see T Higgins being a target for them, certainly. But enough about the Panthers. Let's move on to just putting a button on things for Cowboys and Panthers. Let's get into our great, good, and mediocre since we won. Um, so I guess I'll let you lead off. What do you got? Who was great? Who was good? What was mediocre?
Yeah, I'm just gonna run through these three real quick. I'm gonna go more of the team route. On all three. My great was our D line on the pass rush. 11 quarterback hits and 7 total sacks. I guess five because you had two different half ones. So 5 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. That's great against that terrible line. That's what should happen. So that was great. Um, Good was Dak throwing the ball around, like I said earlier, 9 different guys with multiple catches. I know Cooper Rush had 2 of those passes, 25 completions to 9 different receivers. All of them had multiple catches. Love seeing that. I mean, there was no guy that stood out this game receiving wise. Everybody caught balls. Love seeing that. And then the part that I want to touch up a little bit is that the Cowboys need to fix very fast is because it's going to kill us down the road. These teams we have upcoming is our rush defense. Let me look at the stats real quick. Pull them up. Panthers had 23 carries for 110 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. That should not happen against Chuba Hubbard or Miles Sanders, especially. We've played Miles Sanders past couple of years, obviously multiple times a year. He's not that good of running back. Thought it was crazy that Carolina paid him. Obviously not great because of the running back market, but they paid him for multiple years. 11 carries, 50 yards, 10 carries, 57 yards for Chuba. And just doesn't look great right now. Next couple of weeks, we have time to fix it just because of who we're playing. The Commanders don't run the ball great, but Brian Robinson Jr. is looking a lot better, especially coming out of the backfield. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the Seahawks, most likely, without starting running back Kenneth Walker, I would assume the oblique injury. So that
Hmm.
means Zach Charbonnet will be out there. So we have a couple of weeks to figure it out, but our rush defense did look mediocre. It just did not look good, and we need to fix it very soon.
Yeah, yeah. I think those are three very good picks, and I like that you went more of the team route there. So I'll try to make mine, I guess, like a little more individualized. Um, for the great, I'll say, I mean, just the gosh, you really took mine with defensive line pass rush. I mean, great.
Hmm.
I'll just get show him a little more love. Deron Bland. I
Hmm.
mean, just continuing to do what he does, and that's just do what the best cornerback in the NFL does, and that's just exactly who he is and what he does.
Yep.
I'm
Hmm.
running out of words to describe it here. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just that good. And as Chris Berman said when he was doing his fastest 2 minutes yesterday before Monday Night Football, he said, Deron Bland, nothing bland about his season so far.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's a great way to
Perfect
put
way.
it,
Yeah.
Boomer. So, and then for my good, um, I'll say it was a good game for Tony Pollard and just our rushing offense as a whole. We really saw this team. They finally, and granted, it's against a not great Carolina Panthers defense, but
Yeah.
they did what you're supposed to do, which is finally get some semblance of a run game established. Um, RJ predicted a big week for Rico Dowdle. He wasn't much of a factor. Looks like he's probably not going to play this week. He hasn't practiced yet, which we'll talk about in a sec. Um, but it was good for Tony Pollard to make the most of it. Um, and even Kevontae Turpin mixed in a will
Nice
carry
little
as
carry there.
well.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then for my mediocre, this one's tough because there's really not a lot to nitpick from when you win by 23 against a bad team. But I'll say it, I guess for mediocre, for the sake of picking something different, um, our play calling at times was a little bit questionable. Um, and I guess just the team overall, just allowing Carolina to hang around for as long as they did. I obviously would have preferred if it had been a blowout earlier, like we saw against the Giants twice, and like we saw against the Jets and the
Hmm.
Patriots and some of the other teams that we've blown out. But you know, that's just nitpicking. There's not, like I said, there's not really a whole lot to take from when you win by 23 and take care of business on the
Hmm.
road. I mean, at the end of the day, it's National Football League, and a win is a win. So I'm not going to complain about it. Um, but I guess just play calling wasn't great, and just allowing the Panthers to hang around for as long as they did. Um, but okay, I think that pretty much wraps up what we had about the Panthers game. Let's shift in to talking about Cowboys and Commanders on Thanksgiving in Dallas. Um, unfortunately, the first memories that come to mind when I think about Cowboys Redskins Thanksgiving, I think of Robert Griffin III
Hmm.
torching the Cowboys in Dallas, and I think about um, Colt McCoy beating the Cowboys in Dallas.
Hmm.
But with that being said, this is not it's it's interesting because I don't really know how to frame it. This Commanders team can be good, but they're not. And like I don't really know how else to frame it. I mean, they kind of sold off. I mean, they dealt Chase Young and Montez Sweat at the deadline. They were both going to be impending free agents anyways, but they have some good pieces on both sides of the football. Um, Obviously, they have Terry McLaurin. They have Sam Howell, who's been decent. They got Brian Robinson, Logan Thomas. You have guys on your offense who are capable. Curtis Samuel
Hmm.
too. On the defensive side, you've got Jonathan Allen, who's still a monster. You've got Cam Curl, who's a really solid safety. Just
Teron
trying.
Payne.
Yep, Deron Payne. I knew I was forgetting someone. So they have pieces, and they just haven't quite put it together. We're finally seeing Sam Howell get his full chance to start this year. He's had his moments where he's looked really, really solid. Like when they
Hmm.
lost to Seattle in that heartbreaker a couple weeks ago, he was awesome. And then he has games where he's looked not great as well and throws, 3, 4 interceptions. So it it's kind of a mixed bag Commanders team, and I'm curious to hear, kind of what your just initial thoughts are going into this game.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's Commanders team. They have good weeks, they have bad weeks. Last week was obviously a terrible week for them. I mean, you're in a playoff hunt. I mean, you're 4-6. You have to have this game. You're playing the worst team, this second worst team in the NFC, in front of the Panthers, the Giants, and you lay an egg. Their defense is terrible, and your quarterback, who, in my opinion, I think he's a franchise quarterback for sure for next year, maybe the year after that. And you have that type of game. You just can't have those type of games, especially when you're 9, 10 games in the season and you lay that big of an egg. Um, They're a good football team. I know they traded away pieces. That hurts big time. That probably hurts the locker room a lot. The morale, all that stuff. They don't think they can win. They're a good football team. This offense, when they're clicking, Terry McLaurin is for sure number one wide receiver. Like I said earlier, Brian Robinson coming off of, I mean, getting shot. That's what happened. Coming back and playing the way he's played the past few weeks, catching the ball in the backfield, which I think will be a huge plus for them this week. And running the football the way he has, it's been good. Antonio Gibson, the past couple of years he's been good running back, especially for RB2. He's really good. Curtis Samuel, Logan, you name these players, their O line is just it's not good. Um,
Terrible.
so their offense is capable, definitely. Their defense is, I wouldn't say capable, but it's there. And it's a defense in the NFL, as
It's
best you
one
can
of the
put it.
defenses of all time.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Their D line's okay. This is a game where either Jonathan Allen just bulldozes Steele and destroys Dak Prescott, or Steele has a great game and there's nobody around Dak 5 yards within him, and he's just lighting them up and we're running them all down their throats. So this is a game where I think that we can take control of early. We should, but I would not be surprised if the Commanders put up 3+ touchdowns.
Okay. Yeah. And just to, as we kind of get into talking about each side of the football here and filling in for what Spanky would usually do, which is update about the injury report. So today's participation, obviously short week. Uh, Two notable DMPs so far for Monday and Tuesday is Jaron Curse and Rico Dowdle. In addition, today, Michael Gallup also did not practice. He had no designation yesterday. Tyron Smith also didn't practice. Have to feel like that's just protocol with how we're
Mandatory,
going to be
yeah.
treating him at this point. CeeDee Lamb was upgraded to a full participant today, which is good.
Mhm.
Kevontae Turpin practiced in full. Terrence Steele practiced in full. But the potential of not having Javon Curse and Rico Dowdle, obviously players on both sides of the football, which we'll talk about. Um, I guess just starting with Dowdle, it was not a great week for him last week. I think we may have seen the carry split train for him and Pollard kind of not come to a screeching halt a little bit, but maybe pumping the brakes a little bit on that, especially with how Pollard looked last week. Um, CD Lamb said last week before the Panthers game that he said it was only a matter of time before, we start to get TP going. So
Mhm.
kind of have to feel like, especially against, in a game like this where hopefully it is a blowout or at least a resounding victory, that maybe this is a week that we start to see Tony Pollard more. I hope. Um, we know that Dak is very capable of destroying this Commanders defense as well. And
Mhm.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that we saw. And I guess just to kind of start things from our offense as well, obviously touched upon Rico Dowdle, Tony Pollard. We didn't see, obviously, with CD Lamb, he looked last week as if he wasn't fully healthy. I think it was you who actually sent something in the group chat and said, "What's going on with CD? He doesn't look like he's
Mhm.
healthy." Um, and thankfully, the Cowboys, it wasn't, an ultra close game where you had to have him playing at every snap. I mean, I don't obviously when Dak gets pulled in the fourth quarter, I mean, CD was out of the game too. So that was good. Um, but I also liked what you said in that it's kind of just feels like a game. It's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be a Cowboys blowout or it's going to
Mhm.
be the Commanders keeping this game really close because their D line is getting a lot of pressure on Dak. Um, and so I think it's going to be a big test for our offensive line. Specifically, I'm really looking forward to the matchup of Tyler Smith and Zach Martin going against those big brute defensive tackles from
Mhm.
Washington and Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen. Obviously, those are two guys that Washington chose to pay the big bucks to over Montez Sweat and Chase Young, two former first round picks, Alabama guys. Um, Both really good. Both can be game wreckers at times. Um, and I think that their secondary also has a lot of questions. Cam Curl's
Mm.
solid. Manuel Forbes, first round pick, has been pretty brutal this year. They have another
Kendall
corner. Was
Fuller.
Yep, still have Fuller. They got another guy. I think he's an undrafted rookie, Saint Benjamin Saint Used or Juiced.
Yeah.
Yeah,
KUSD.
yeah. And I know he's been pretty decent. Um, but it feels like a game that the Cowboys offense really shouldn't struggle. And I'm just hoping that with it being a short week, fingers crossed for no injuries.
Hmm.
Obviously, I mean that's the number one thing. Getting out of Carolina with no major injuries was big. Um, it feels like a game where our offense should pretty much be able to do what they want at will.
Hmm. Definitely. This is a game where I can see either we have Tony Pollard touch the ball 25, 30 times, or it's a close game and Dak's throwing the ball 40 to 45 times. I would like to see the first. I would like to see Pollard touch the ball a lot and just run down their throats. I think this is going to be a big game for Pollard. I think if we're getting pushed from Tyler and Martin and Biotish up the middle, this game could get out of hand early.
Hmm.
Um, so I do think that this game is. I really want to say it's a blowout, but I think it's gonna be close. I do think we can run the ball and throw the ball at will, but also, and we'll talk about defense a little bit. But I'm nervous about that offense against our defense for just a little bit. I know I shouldn't be, but I am. Um, but I do think big game for Dak, big game for TP, and I think those two are going to carry us to victory. And I think our O line, like you said earlier, is going to have to show up. It's going to have to dominate because the Commanders' D line can dominate a game. We've seen it before. We've seen it up close and personal, and so I do think this is going to be a close game, in my opinion. But I do think Dak and TP prevail and dominate.
Agreed. Agreed. So I feel like you might have spoiled it a little bit, maybe, but um, who is your killer of the week?
Yeah, it's going to be TP. I think he's going to touch the ball 25, 30 times. Um, I want to say 25, 30 is 20 carries. And then he's going to have 6 receptions for 35 yards and a touchdown. He's going to go for
Receiving
20.
touchdown?
Yep. He's going to go for 20 and 85. And he's going to have 6 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown.
Okay. I like it. I like it. So big game from TP and both facets of the offense, running
Hmm.
and receiving.
Yeah, we saw it last week. He got in the game 4 catches. I think that's the first time he caught a ball. He didn't catch a ball 2 games prior at all. So getting him in the passing game, getting him in there, it's another wrinkle that we can put in defenses and be like, all right, we got to also look at this guy because I mean, they've been throwing the ball around with Cooks obviously just being everywhere now. CD obviously, Tolbert's getting involved, Gallup's getting more involved too. Um, Throwing TP out there in the pass game is huge. And I'm looking at their defense. Jabril Cox is on the Commanders.
I didn't know that. Huh. Maybe did
Yep,
he get
Jabril Cox.
he must have gotten claimed on waiver. Oh, I think he got claimed on waivers after we cut him in preseason. I think.
I don't remember seeing that at all, but interesting. And he's a
Yeah.
backup linebacker for him, but all right. Well,
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out Jabril Cox, I guess. Not Marquise Bell. I finally gotten over that hump where I don't look at Marquise Bell and
yeah,
automatically think
me
it's
too.
Jabril
100%.
Cox.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so my killer of the week, I'm gonna go with Brandon Cooks this week. Um, I do think it's gonna be a big game just for our offense as a whole. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't like a major CD game. I think we'll see an uptick in his volume from last week. Like what he fished like 50, 60 yards last week,
Hmm.
some around there.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that this is a game as that will just continue to see the development and the comfortability of Brandon Cooks within this offense. And so I'm going to say Brandon Cooks has one of his most solid games yet. I'm going to say he gets 5 catches for 80-ish yards and a touchdown this week.
Love it.
But okay,
Love it.
shifting to the other side of the ball here. Um, our defense, their offense. So not having Trayvon Diggs going against Terry McLaurin. Um, Trayvon Diggs owns Terry McLaurin. He's owned him throughout his entire career, even going back to when he was a rookie. I remember that pick. What was it? 2 years ago, the Cowboys played
His
Washington,
rookie
and
year.
yeah, and or maybe it was Diggs' second year, and Diggs basically ran the route for Terry
Mm,
McLaurin. It was like I think it was Commanders' like first drive of the game. It was that ugly, ugly game in Dallas where the Cowboys won like 51 to like 13 or something like that.
mm-hmm.
It's a total blowout. And I remember first possession of the game, Trayvon Diggs literally ran Terry McLaurin's route for him and
Mm-hmm.
caught it in stride. And then he didn't house it, but um, yeah, I mean that's basically just a microcosm of how Diggs has owned Terry McLaurin throughout his career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you already kind of said it, and I think I'm with you in the sentiment that I think Sam Howell can be a franchise guy, or at the very least, he's a very, very good bridge quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he's a very solid quarterback. I think Washington needs to be patient and actually give him a chance to succeed. I mean, the guy has one of the worst O lines in football. He's got solid receivers, solid tight end, pretty decent group of running backs with, as you already mentioned, Brian Robinson, who's very solid. I have him in a fantasy league, and so I think he's like RB like 8 or 9 this year in
Mm-hmm.
fantasy.
Yep.
So he's been real solid. Um, but the key for us defensively in stopping this Washington offense and doing what we know our defense is capable of and just taking over games is that we have to get the pass rush established early. We have to make Sam Howell nervous. We have to force him to, play from the hind while or the hind behind while our defense has its ears pinned back like they did last week and can just tee off and similar to how they made Bryce Young look last week where he was just flustered and barely had any time to throw. That's what we need to see from our defense this week. And we know that we have the personnel to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Micah Parsons, D Law, could go on and on. But
Mm-hmm.
it just feels like a game, and we've said it before a million times. It seems like pretty much every other game, but this game, especially for us defensively, is going to be won or lost in the trenches. If we let Sam Howell just drop back, he's got a very solid arm. It's not like a Mahomes arm or where he's
Herbert. Yeah.
doing crazy
Allen.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he has but it's also not a Mac Jones noodle arm either. Like
Mm-hmm.
he has a very solid arm. He can make big time throws. We just have to get after him and just disrupt him and not let him get into a rhythm because that's when we're gonna get into trouble.
I 100% agree with that. Yeah, so he can beat you if you let him beat you. Let him sit in that pocket. He's gonna beat you. Um,
He beat
this is
us
a
last
game where
year.
he did week 18. So I do think he's capable. I like how you said they need to be patient with him. I agree. You need another year with him, another off season, because I think they have a real shot in the next few years. I hate to say it, to be a competitive football team. I think they are a competitive football team. They just don't have all the pieces yet. Um, but come back to our defense. This is a game where you keep everybody in front of you. You don't let Curtis Samuel get by you. You don't let Terry McLaurin have a 10 catch game and beat you by himself and let Sam Howell sit back there in the pocket. You got to have our D line wreak havoc. I think they can and they will, but I do think they're going to make big plays throughout the game. They're going to make those 20 to 30-yard plays for like, damn, why is he open? And another aspect of it is that if Curse is not going to be able to go, I think Logan Thomas is a capable tight end. I don't think he's anything flashy. And he's an old quarterback, Voltech, capable enough athlete to have 5, 6 catches for 60, 70 yards. Just don't let him do that. Don't let Dotson get behind everybody.
Yep,
Don't let
forgot
Curtis
about
Samuel.
Dotson.
They have names to where like they could beat you deep, especially. And Sam
Yeah,
Howell can throw the ball deep, but you don't let him have a chance to stay in the pocket. Um, but I do think our defense will give up some big plays. I don't think there's going to be any costly plays that will hurt us in the long game. But I do think with their O line, their defensive line is going to wreak havoc.
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And yeah, good for mentioning Jahan Dotson. I like his game a lot.
I do
I
too.
I don't know how
I
I
don't
forgot about
hate
him.
this. I know they're a division rival. I don't hate this team. Like I don't like
I
no
don't
past
either.
things. Like I hate this player. This player. I mean, Chase Young's gone. Montez Sweat's gone. I mean, Jonathan Allen is a stud. I'm not a fan of him just because he just always seems like he's always sacking Dak all the time. But they have names that I like. Like you said, Dotson. I like that Brian Robinson. His story is so cool. Sam
Yeah,
Howell, you can't hate Sam Howell. I mean, UNC guy,
yeah,
pretty good in college. Then he dropped with a 5th-round pick, and now he's starting the NFL. Like I
yeah,
like this team. I don't hate them like I do the Eagles or the Giants. You know.
yeah, yeah. No, it's funny that you said that. I mean, I feel like my relationship with just in terms of being a Cowboys fan and the way that I feel about our division rivals, like growing up being from you know, from Northern Virginia, where
Yeah.
all my buddies are Washington fans. When they had RG3 and they were a somewhat scary team, like that was a team that I didn't like. Like Santana
Mhm.
Moss, D'Angelo Hall,
Yeah.
hated them.
Mhm.
Hated
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Especially D'Angelo Hall. He's one of my least favorite NFL players of all time.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. Um, but like this team, and maybe we feel better about saying it because we don't really view them as a threat, and that's what I feel about the Giants
Probably
too.
why. Yeah.
Like like we hate the Eagles, and we'll find ways to hate on like anything. We'll be like, oh, Devontae Smith like ran that route weird, or like tied his shoe
Mhm.
differently. Like oh, like we
Mhm.
hate that, or like
Yeah.
oh, like AJ Brown only complained to his coach for 8 seconds instead of 10 seconds. Like, oh, he's really figuring it out. Like,
Uh huh.
like with the Eagles, like we'll find ways to nitpick them and get upset. But yeah, I don't hate this Commanders team either. And I know to any older listeners out there, it might sound not like unpatriotic, but like, very, going against the grain for, the typical Cowboys Redskins rivalry that we did get to see growing up. Just not
Mhm.
to this extent. I mean, Cowboys Commanders isn't the same as Cowboys Redskins. That rivalry will never ever be replaced. But I mean, yeah, dude, they're a solid team. They're a fun team. Sam Howell's easy to root for. I like Jonathan Allen, just because I mean my high school's was in the same conference as his high school growing up in Northern
Mhm.
Virginia, and his highlight tape of him going against my high school when he was at Stonebridge High School is hilarious. Like he was tossing guys on my high school's offensive line around like they were rag dolls. Like it was just like a bunch of like
I
5'10",
believe it.
6 foot, like not massive white
Mhm.
kids trying to block a monster that was going to Alabama and was a
It's so
consensus
funny.
5 star. Like it was hilarious. But um okay, so we're getting a little sidetracked there. Um but with all that being said, um as I said earlier in the injury report, not going to have Ron Curse. At least it looks like it's trending that way. Maybe
Yeah.
we're holding him out as a precaution, but when it's a short week and you haven't practiced yet, kind of seems like he might not be
Yeah, you're not
playing.
gonna play. Yeah.
This definitely could be a game that we see more Wanye Thomas, and it's kind of one that I'm actually excited for. Wanye's been really solid. I hope, and we've kind of been wanting this for a couple weeks, but I don't really know what's happened to Israel Mukwamu. I hope that
Yeah,
we get to see him get more shine because I feel like this is the kind of game, whether it's him in the slot against Dotson or Curtis Samuel, or whether you're having him or Wanye go up against Logan Thomas. Like it feels like the kind of game where they could make somewhat of an impact.
I agree. I like that pick a lot. I didn't even think about that. Not seeing Thomas playing in the past couple of weeks has been interesting. I know how good Marquise Bell has been playing, and obviously Wilson's back and everybody's looking healthy. But with Curse out, yeah, this is a game where you bring these guys in and you see what they can do. I like it a lot. So I think our DBs are gonna have to have a big game, and our linebackers are gonna have to have a big game.
Yeah.
They're gonna be athlete. They have some athletes like we've been talking about. So them coming in, not playing in the past few weeks, will be interesting to see how they get back to game speed. But yeah, I like that analysis a lot, Bennett.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's do our hot boy picks and then we'll give our score predictions, cover zero, and then we'll wrap up. But let's give our hot boy picks. So I'll let you start out here.
I've been trying to think about this. I mean, obviously, we do this every week. I've been trying to think about the past couple minutes, and I don't know who I want to pick. I think I have an idea, but I've been talking about our pass rush being big this game, need it. But I think because of our pass rush is going to be so dominant, it's going to have some balls in the air, and I think Stephon Gilmore. I'm going to go Gilmore route. He has a pick, and he shuts down, which I know it's crazy to say because we know we keep talking about speed against Gilmore. He's probably gonna go up against Dotson and a little. I mean, I guess not Dotson's slot corner, but Curtis Samuel.
Mhm.
So I do think that him against Curtis Samuel will be an interesting battle. I think he's going to get a pick with because of our D line being so dominant and Sam Howell's start throwing the ball up that Gilmore's going to get an interception.
I love that pick. I love that pick a lot, actually. Yeah, Gilmore's a guy that we haven't given a ton of shine to this year. I mean, we talked about him a lot earlier in the season, but obviously with the emergence, I guess not emergence because he was already a solid player, but the true breakout into national spotlight for Deron Bland has kind of overshadowed Gilmore.
Hmm.
He's been better the last couple weeks, obviously with the talent that we've been facing at receiver. It's probably not that much of a surprise. I mean, who's Gilmore been matched up against the last couple weeks? Like Isaiah Hodgins, Wandale Robinson, like Jonathan
Hmm.
Mingo. Like
Yep.
it's not the same as going against AJ Brown, Devontae
Devontae
Smith,
Smith. Yep.
Garrett Wilson, guys
Debo
like that.
Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a lot different, and hopefully for Gilly's sake, he can kind of get his confidence up a little bit, especially
Hmm.
as we've alluded to with that the gauntlet that we have coming up, not only with 3 games in 11 days, but just with the strength of schedule severely increasing after this Thanksgiving game. Um,
Definitely.
but for my hot boy pick, uh, due to not knowing whether or not he's gonna play, I'm gonna restrain from picking Wanye Thomas or Izzy Mukwamu. It is subject to change. If Curse doesn't play, then I'll say Wanye Thomas is a solid game, maybe even gets a pick. But I will say for my hot boy pick, um, give a little love to this guy. I don't think I've chosen him in a couple weeks as my hot boy, but I want to go with Demarcus Lawrence.
Love it.
He seems to play pretty well against the Commanders. I guess just in his career, I would have to look up his career numbers, but I feel like the last couple of years, like I've just seen Demarcus Lawrence against the Commanders and just see
Hmm.
him doing his sack celebration where he puts his arms outstretched and
Hmm.
looks up to the skies. So I'm gonna say that we're gonna see Demarcus Lawrence and his outstretched hands twice on Thursday, and I'm gonna say that
Love
he,
it.
he gets 2 sacks.
Love it.
Okay, so score predictions. We do have Spanky sent us his score prediction. He wanted it out there. Um, just so for the viewers, I know back in it's probably what episode 1, I want to say, when
Mhm.
we sat down and went through our schedule predictions. And obviously, you guys know that we do score predictions each week. Um, so actually, our current leader for how we had it for preseason records compared to now, it's actually Stu. The only game that Stu has predicted incorrectly is the Cardinals game, which we had wrong around the horn, and probably
Mhm.
everyone and their mother, including everyone in that Cardinals locker room, probably didn't even predict that they were going to
Mhm.
win that game. But again, Josh Dobbs is elite. Um,
Yep.
but anyways, but this was a game that, going off our preseason predictions, Stu, you and I had us winning this game. Spanky had us losing this game. I'm sure if he could go back, he would love to revise this one.
Mhm.
Um, and then for our score prediction standings for the year, so I write down our score predictions after each podcast and during each podcast, and we have like a little spreadsheet. We don't count losses because I think we predicted us. I mean, I'm just looking now. We've predicted us to win every single game so far this year, um, which which is kind of funny to look at. But so with our 3 losses not counting, and we forgot to get score predictions last week when we had RJ on. So last week is a wash as well. Our current standings are 2-2-1. Spanky and Stu are tied with 2 apiece, and I have 1. Spanky won the first 2 weeks with the Jets and Giants. Stu won the Patriots and the Rams week, and I won the second Giants week. Um, but yeah, so that's just a little update. But with all that being said, Spanky had his score prediction this week being 34-17 Cowboys. And I want to know what your score prediction is.
So I was basing this off of I was looking at the spread this week or just a minute ago before we started the podcast. It's at 11 and a half. And so I've been talking about this game um, being like a Commanders scoring like 3+ touchdowns. And I think it's not going to be as close as my prediction is going to be. It says it's going to be like Commanders were up by like 17 and they go and score a touchdown with like a minute left, or up by the 2 touchdowns they score with a minute left. So I'm going to go. Um, it's going to be 34-28, but no, excuse me, take that back. Taking it back. 31 to 23, and
Interesting.
yep, 31-23. Because I think there's gonna be some field goals involved. I said, I love Brandon Aubrey. Got to get
Best
him
kicker in
involved in
football.
there.
Yep.
Yep. Um, and they're gonna score a touchdown like a minute left. So it's gonna be like 31-16. That's right. Yeah, 31-16, and they score with a minute left to make it an 8-point game. They backdoor cover.
Okay. I like it. I like it. Hopefully it's not that close, um, but I could definitely see a world in which that happens. Maybe have guys on the Cowboys thinking about that post game meal, and
Hmm.
getting that turkey leg
Yeah,
afterwards. So okay,
they
for
still do that.
my, I think now it's only because I know NBC does it, but I think it's only for the late
Okay,
game. I think
gotcha. Hmm.
because I don't remember. I think it was the Vikings last year played the late game. And I think because I feel like that was like um when all the memes about Kirk were
Hmm.
going wild on social media, and he had
The
like all the
chains,
all,
yeah.
all the chains on and all that.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think I remember him on Thanksgiving absolutely chowing down on a turkey. Like I think it was him and Justin Jefferson. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before. So that'll be, I guess,
Yeah.
the MVPs of the Niners and Seahawks game, I guess, because that's
Mhm.
the night game. But maybe we'll see a little turkey action. Something I actually just thought of, just talking about it out loud. Obviously, with it being Thanksgiving and we're getting into the jolly time of year, is the Salvation Army bucket making a comeback this week?
Yeah, it has to. This has to
Right?
start the week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because this is the time I feel like when we see that.
that's great. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
100%. It has to be Thanksgiving week when it starts.
yeah,
So I was
because I
actually at
remember.
Walmart about an hour ago, 2 hours ago, and I saw the person outside ringing the bell. So it
Okay,
has, I
then
mean, it's
yeah.
time of the year.
So it is that time of the year. Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
probably see um
Who's
the
gonna be the
the,
first
the
one to jump
bucket.
inside of it?
That's what I'm trying to figure out because I remember last year it was all the tight ends.
Yeah.
Last year it was what Ferg, Schultz, Henny, and I think
Yeah.
McKeon like all celebrated, or maybe one of them wasn't on the field, but I don't remember what play it was, but it was obviously the game last year against the Giants was a
Hmm.
blowout, and they were having
Hmm.
fun in there, and
Yep.
obviously everyone remembers Dak and Zeke. Makes me want to shed a tear just
Hmm.
thinking about that. But I mean, those are the happy memories that you have when you think of the era with 4 and with 21.
Yep.
um but yeah, so maybe we'll get some Salvation Army bucket action this week, who knows.
Be
But
great.
I'm gonna say that this game is gonna be uh, um so 11 and a half spread.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say, just because I'm trying to figure out how we still get Brandon Aubrey his field goals, because I mean they're going to be there. I'm going to say this is going to be kind of a weird score, but I'm going to say, if my math is correct, so I'm going to say 37 to 24.
I like it. It's actually,
So
yeah,
yeah,
it's about right. As
cover.
said, 4 touchdowns and 3 field goals.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll still see some Brandon Aubrey field goals, and
Hmm.
still see a Cowboys cover with probably some things to work on.
Love it.
Okay, so last thing here before we wrap up, cover zero takes. I'll read off Spanky's first because he sent me into a bucket list to be read off here. So Spanky's cover zero takes. His first one, the Cowboys defense forces 6 sacks and 2 turnovers this week. His second one was Jake Ferguson has a big game, 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. And then his third pick was wide receivers not named CeeDee Lamb have a big week. In parentheses, Gallup back corner touchdown. So
Love it. Probably gonna
very
happen now.
very specific, but I love it, and I wish
Hmm.
Spanky was on here to rip that off himself. Who knows what state of mind he's in Jamaica, drinking on the
Yeah.
beach, just
Uh huh.
firing these off the dome.
Uh huh.
But you know, I guess we'll get his reaction next week uh,
Hmm.
when he's back stateside. But what is your cover zero take today, Stu?
Man, I just don't have any crazy ones I'm thinking about this week. Like, I'm gonna go with, I think, like I said, Tony Pollard has a crazy good game.
Hmm.
But I think Tolbert touchdown.
Love it.
Um,
Double down from last week.
Yep, Tolbert touchdown. Trying to see if anything else I would say. I guess it covers your take. Is first time Tony Pollard touches the ball 20 plus times this year. 25. I mean, that would be a pretty hot take to have
I
25
think
touches this week.
I thought he had like 25 carries like one of the first two. Maybe not week 1, but I thought he had a lot week 2.
I know it was at week one. Was who we play week two at before the Cardinals?
The Jets. I, I'm gonna go back and check the box score, but I thought he had like 27 carries or something nuts. Let me check that.
Might be right. Probably can't
So
remember correctly. Can't remember that far
yeah,
back.
okay, he had 25 carries for 72 yards against the Jets,
Okay.
and then
So
week
he has
one,
another
yeah,
25 touch game.
okay, I like that. I like that. Week 2, he had 23 carries.
Okay.
I also didn't realize that he ran for 122 in week 3. I thought we didn't have a 100-yard rusher yet this season, so I guess I'm wrong about that. Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad I didn't air that one out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said Tolbert, TD, and Pollard 25
Or
plus
25
touches.
plus touches. Yep.
Love it. Get your best players in space. It's the name of the
Have to.
game.
Yep. I agree.
And okay, so my take. So I swung for the fences last week on Cavante Turpin special teams touchdown. Didn't happen. Didn't really have opportunities. The Panther special teams just covered all of his punts, or all their punts, pretty well. Had a lot of
Hmm.
fair catches last week. Um, but I still want to stick on the Terp train. I'm gonna
Hmm.
say Devontae Turpin scores a touchdown this week. Not going to spoil it and say whether it's offensive or special teams. Again, we may or may not have the script, so I don't want to spoil
Hmm.
it. I'll just let everyone be pleasantly surprised when we're all watching the game. Um, stuffed as hell out on Thanksgiving.
Can't
Uh,
wait, man.
yeah, but Kevontae Turpin will have a touchdown this week, and then who else? Who else do I want to just pull out of my ass and give love to here? Let's say I already said DeMarcus Lawrence, 2 sacks. I'm going to say that we're going to have a defensive touchdown in this game as well. Could
Back to
be,
back weeks.
yeah, could be a scoop score or scoop and score. Could be a pick six. I don't know, but we're going to get a defensive touchdown.
I
Um,
think we're going to get a defensive. I like it, and I'm going to go off yours and say defensive touchdown, and it's going to be followed on the ball in the end zone. So it's going to be a safety. It's not going to be a safety, but it's going to be sack, force fumble, jump on it. And I'm going to say it's going to be who forces it. I'm going to say Micah Parsons forces it, and then Mozzie Smith scores a touchdown.
I actually love that. That's like that might be the most specific cover zero take that we've had yet. So I wrote defensive touchdown, falling on the ball in the end zone off a sack and forced fumble, forced by Micah, recovered by Mozzie.
That'd be so high if it happens.
Okay. Okay, so we'll clip this, and then when it happens in the game, because again we have the script, Stu was on it first. So
Correct.
um okay, I love that. So real quick question, I guess, just before we do our outro here. Um, Obviously Thursday is Thanksgiving, and this is kind of off topic here from football, but what is outside of Cowboys football? What is your favorite part about Thanks? I guess it's a two-part question. What's your favorite part about Thanksgiving, and
Hmm.
what is your favorite part of the meal? Is it the turkey or is it a
Okay.
side?
Um, favorite part about Thanksgiving, um, that I don't care about the parade. Like I'll
I
watch it,
don't
but it's nothing
either.
like that excites me.
I don't even
Um,
watch it.
Probably waking up, and this might be a hot take. But I eat breakfast. My mom makes a breakfast
Oh,
casserole. I eat breakfast, and I have mimosas, some champagne and orange juice, and some breakfast casserole with the fam, obviously. Um, my mom's breakfast casserole is just so good. So I have to have some. So that's a kind of bit of hot take. I do have breakfast, but we eat
interesting.
around like 2:30, I would say. So I have enough time to get my stomach empty. And then my favorite is my mom's potato casserole. I'll have about 3 or 4
Oh,
helpings of that.
okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you eat that with gravy?
No, I put gravy on my dress and my stuffing, but I don't put it on
Yeah.
my potato casserole.
Are you a brown or white gravy guy?
Both. I eat whatever's on my plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I feel
whatever's
that
out
too.
there on the table, I'm devouring it. And then I was gonna say my favorite other side dish. It's not really a Thanksgiving dish, but it's for my family. It's some deviled eggs, man.
Really
I'll have about five of them. Oh yeah,
interesting.
I love deviled eggs.
I've never really
All right.
associated devil eggs with Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I have them like every Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. Like when the family's around, like my grandma will make them. So I only have them specific times of the year. So whenever I have them, I get to business.
That's fair. That's fair.
Hmm. All
Stu
right,
goes to town on those deviled eggs.
I do. Now your turn.
Okay. I guess outside of Cowboys football, well, whenever they piss me off on Thanksgiving, they're not my favorite part. Like I think of the
Hmm.
Cowboys Raiders game 2 years
Raiders. Yep.
ago. Oh my God, that was the most infuriating game ever.
Yep.
The Anthony Brown infamous legacy game, and
Yep.
unfortunately, what he'll be remembered for, in a Cowboys uniform. God, that game was tough. And sorry to any listeners out there if I just triggered PTSD, but I just had to relive that, so you guys have to relive
Yep.
it with us as well.
Yeah. Thanks.
But I think my favorite part about Thanksgiving, um, I guess it's just getting together with family. I mean, it sounds cliche, but
Yeah.
obviously, like this year I'm going back to Virginia for Thanksgiving. So just being able to reconnect with family. I mean, I don't get to go home super often. So it's good to see my dad and the folks back home. And then my favorite part of the meal, I think, and it's something I've done a complete 180 on, is it's mashed potatoes. I used to hate mashed potatoes as a kid.
Really
Yeah, like hated them. I thought
interesting. I love
I
mashed
I used to
potatoes.
think mashed potatoes was like baby food. Like I hated I'm a big texture food guy. I
Yep, I am too.
like people that know me
Too
know that.
soft for you?
Yeah, it was like it just gave me like baby food vibes. Like I just didn't
Okay.
like it. Like I'm a big texture guy, and
Mm,
so like people that know me, like I can't eat salad. I don't do lettuce at all. The texture just I can't get behind it. Like I know it doesn't really
yeah,
have flavor, but it does nothing for me. I'll probably never switch my stance on that. But um yeah, dude.
interesting.
Mashed potatoes. Ever since I got to college, I found out I loved mashed potatoes. I think sophomore year during Thanksgiving, I got like coerced by my dad and my stepmom to try them, and they were like, "Come on, like you have to try it." And I tried them, and I had like ended up having like 4 servings of just mashed potatoes, and I was just going crazy.
Love it. That's
Love him
awesome.
by himself. Love garlic
Are you
mashed
a
potatoes.
white or brown gravy?
Same as you, either or. Whatever's available. Gravy, I mean, gravy's awesome. Gravy's so
Yeah, I
awesome.
agree.
You
I think
could
it's
put,
so underrated.
yeah, like you could put gravy on literally anything.
I
Like
I may have to do the like one of my helpings this year is just get a whole thing of gravy and just dump it all over everything
that's
on the plate
that's what
because you
I
could
do
literally
with stuff. Yeah,
yeah
like I'll have like my veggies, my mashed potatoes, even mac and cheese, and then your turkey.
yeah
Just
mac and cheese.
douse
Yep,
it all.
love it.
Yeah,
Oh man, I'm
yeah.
getting so hungry.
I
I'm
know,
so
I know.
excited.
It's making me hungry too.
Uh,
Okay. Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
nope. Excited for the game. Think come out with the dub. Gonna be 8-3. Um, season's looking good. Stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, stay healthy. And to all the listeners out there, if you're like me and you're going to be traveling tomorrow on the busiest travel day of the year, stay safe. It's a scary world out there. Make it back to your families or wherever destination you're going. Or if you're like Spanky and you're sitting on a beach with your feet kicked up in Jamaica, enjoying some ice cold Coronas with the lime on a beach, enjoy that as well. Um, and yeah, to all you listeners out there, happy Thanksgiving. Don't forget to tell someone out there that you're thankful for them. Time is short, so don't be afraid to let those people know that you're thankful for them, especially on Thanksgiving. And hopefully, we'll be thankful for a Cowboys win on Thursday. And hopefully, we'll especially be thankful for no injuries. That's what we're rooting for, on top of everything. So, um, as always, please follow us on our socials, our X and our TikTok at Dallas BC Pod, our Instagram at Dallas BC Podcast, and email us for any sponsors or inquiries, podcastdbc@gmail.com. And we're available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So go listen on whatever platform you prefer. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining us today. And we will see you guys next week. And happy Thanksgiving.
boom.